With YouTube attacking alternative media, please consider supporting the channel via Patreon for just $1 per month. Link below. This is where we get into the spin for Star Wars, or Solo at least. This is where the spin happens. This is where we start seeing that things are fine. Everything's okay. Because as is being reported, Harrison Ford is unofficially involved with Solo, a Star Wars story. And that seems, well, odd to me. Mostly because, well, Harrison Ford has been very open about his dislike of the character and his disdain for coming back into it. In fact, I do believe, and this is just my own theory, that the only reason why he came back to go do episode 7 is because, well, the money, and 2, they killed him off. So he would be able to then relish in the fans being upset that he died. I will fully admit, when Star Wars The Force Awakens was over, about 10 minutes later, I broke down crying outside the theater. I was very upset at that. I make no mistake, which is why I want the Solo movie to be good, and why I do like this story, but at the same time, you can also see what's going on. It says here, for being a notorious grump, Harrison Ford is sure happy to revisit his old characters and cashing paychecks from doing so. He starred in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull 19 years after The Last Crusade, Blade Runner 2049 35 years after Blade Runner, and The Force Awakens 32 years after The Return of the Jedi. Ford has nothing officially to do with Star Wars, Solo, a Star Wars story, but he did consult with the young Han Solo, Alden Ehrenreich, on how to play the notorious smuggler. See, this is where you can start seeing here, basically trying to say, like, oh, Harrison Ford gave his seal of approval, or his stamp of approval to Alden Ehrenreich. And why would this be a necessary thing? Well, for one, it is a cool story nonetheless. You would want the actor who played the iconic role of which you are taking on to come in and say, you did good, I like this kid. But at the same time, how many reports have we seen coming out of Solo production where they had to get an acting coach for Alden Ehrenreich, where they had to get him into the, he was having trouble performing. They had to go in there and make sure it was done right. If this guy was as good as you know, they're trying to make it out to be, then would this have been a true story? But they're trying to now say that basically Harrison Ford gave him the A-OK, and that's supposed to be good enough. Now, I tell them everything I told you, everything you needed to know. Ford advised his younger self during a lunch meeting, and that you can't tell anyone. Ehrenreich kept his promise. I got to stick to my orders from the man himself. But Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy rang Ford after he met the Hail Caesar star. Now, just again, I'm sure they met and I'm sure they talked and everything else, because I would assume that. But you have to love it here. Tell them I told you everything you needed to know and that you can't tell anyone. It comes across like this playful situation, but at the same time, like if I put on the tinfoil hat, it also comes across to me like it's really, like, oh, tell them I told you everything, but you can't tell anyone what it is, right? It's like, it doesn't really feel like it's that big of a thing. But Kathleen Kennedy does say this. It was perfect, classic Harrison. Kennedy says, breaking into Ford's signature low-key grumble, good kid, really good kid. She also sent Ford the script, which she said he read and gave a thumbs up, saying, I think being who Harrison is, there is no way he would step into the middle of this and start trying to dictate. Well, yeah, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He wanted Han Solo to die. He wanted Han to die in Empire Strikes Back. He didn't care. And so, you know, I mean, having the moment of him, you know, getting the script and giving it a thumbs up, it wouldn't matter if he would have given it a thumbs up or not. You know, like, oh, well, this is okay. And I have a feeling he probably did give it a thumbs up because Lawrence Kasdan wrote it. And, you know, they've worked together multiple times. I mean, come on. Can you sit there and tell me that he's not going to sit there and read the script of the guy who wrote Raiders of the Lost Ark and not be all like, they've been friends for, you know, for like 40 years and stuff. So, or they've known each other for a very, very, very long time. So it obviously means that, you know, he's going to have a bit more leniency and criticism, I guess, based upon who wrote the screenplay. But if he still gives it a thumbs up, it does come across as being this, as being a thing. Now, here's what, well, let's finish this and then I'll give my thoughts. Kennedy also said Ford gave Ehrenreich the kind of insight which was invaluable. There were several times in the course of making the movie where Alden would actually recount some of the things Harrison had pointed out. I think that was really, really helpful to him. Ehrenreich learned from the man himself, but don't get cocky, kids. Star Wars opens on May 25th. Okay. So I'm sure many people out there are going to be thinking, yeah, this comes across like a studio spin, a way to put out some positive press in order to deflect from any negative criticism the trailer for Solo got. Ultimately, the trailer for Solo was received quite well, with the exception of Alden Ehrenreich. A lot of people are like, the movie looks pretty tight. The movie looks excellently shot. Emilia Clarke looks freaking fantastic in the 3 or 4 scenes she's in. But Alden Ehrenreich came across as odd, right? He did. He came across as really odd to me. I had trouble. I watched the trailer like 4 or 5 more times because I do like the trailer. But I had trouble with that because it's not Harrison Ford, you know? Like I said, Ansel Elgort was, I think, like the other person up for the role. And I think he would have been better after seeing him in Baby Driver, which I recommend if you haven't seen Baby Driver. And so here's my thoughts. What we're going to see here going forward is if they feel that Solo is bad, like bad, and it's not going to live up to the hype that they want, and they're trying to make it work, you will see Harrison Ford start making the rounds, right? This is the first bit of that. Well, he had lunch with Alden before shooting the film to give him the tips and tricks he needs to don the vest to become the rogue smuggler himself, right? That's the first bit of news. Then you're going to start seeing, you're going to have interviews with Mark Hamill coming out saying, oh, well, I met with Alden Ehrenreich before making the movie, and I've seen parts of the movie, and oh my God, he is like a spitting image of Harrison Ford from 1977, just completely like Han Solo. You're going to see a lot of these kind of plays. Right, you're going to see a lot of this, and especially if Harrison Ford starts making as aggressive of a marketing move like he did with Force Awakens. Because if you remember when he was promoting Force Awakens, he was happy. He was making jokes about him breaking his leg on the set of the Millennium Falcon. He was joking about all of these things. He was on, making Chewie jokes like on the Jimmy Kimmel show, on Jimmy Fallon. And all these other things. And that was also to play up the fact that he knew he was going to die and he wanted fans to get their hopes up for more Han Solo, And if he starts doing that again, if we start seeing more Harrison Ford than Alden Ehrenreich, then they're doing this as a way to put butts in seats. That they're going to do this as a way to be a marketing tool and a marketing tool only. And that will be the key indicator as to whether or not this movie is bad.